whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. And so we are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Fiji Water at FijiWater.com. And I see that we were having a little delay in our broadcast today. We're having a little technical difficulty here, and I'm trying to see if we can get this resolved. But we are not getting a visual right at the moment, and hopefully that will change. So if you will stay with us until we can go live, which we have just done. Technology, as you've all heard me say, is a blessing and a curse. I have no idea why there was a delay to the broadcast uploading live today. But I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers we thank you for your patience and for your continued support. So those of you who continue giving on the give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at New Life Ministries International and at newlifeinternationalcdc.com, we thank you for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. And before I do that, I want to remind everyone we are Facebook Live. We are YouTube Live. We are RadioFreeNetwork.com Live. You can go to RadioFreeNetwork.com. You can click on radio. The drop box will appear. Click on New Life, and every broadcast is available to you. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you're being told by your adult children that you have control issues. However, you do not agree, and you want to know how do you make them understand that you're not dealing with control issues. You are just trying to ensure that they know and understand you want the very best for them. So let me begin by saying this. Your adult children have formed their opinion. However, opinions don't make it fact. So first and foremost, you've got to let yourself off the hook, because you're only trying to make certain that they have a great quality of life. That's first and foremost. But then we have to go one step further, and we have to say to ourselves, what am I doing to get in God's way? Am I getting in God's way of doing what God is doing in their life, trying to do things in their life to make certain that they have a great quality of life? That's the second thing we have to examine. And then we have to look at, are we trying to control things that God has not assigned us to control? So I'm going to say to you, God allowed me to see in that secret place of your lives. You don't have control issues. You are correct. You're trying to make sure that they have a great quality of life. They don't understand that because even though they're adults, they're still immature. They don't see the big picture. They don't understand. And the reason they don't understand is because their whole lives, you have made sure that they've had everything they need. And, I spent a lot of time on this, particularly the last couple of weeks, thinking about the generations that come behind us. And one of the reasons is because of the messages I'm going to be delivering New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, the first Sunday in the new year, and how I'm going to transition from, as we celebrate the birth of Christ this week and actually deliver that message on Sunday, which is going to be a little different than most people have heard, because it's going to lead us into where we're going into the new year. And having said that, I spent a lot of time thinking about the generations that come behind us all. What does that really look like? Are we damaging the generation that comes behind us because we've given them so much that their expectations are unrealistic? I like to think what we've done is we've made them stronger by believing beyond what they can see, first and foremost. But then at some point we've got to get out of the way. And what I mean by that is, there's some things in all of us, there's some things in our adult children's lives that we cannot control. We think we can, but we cannot. And what that means is, if they get sick, we're there for them. If they get injured, we're there for them. If a relationship comes to an end or a marriage comes to an end, we're there for them for emotional support. If we're engaged parents, we do the very best we can do. But at some point, they're going to do just what your adult children are saying to you, and that is, they don't want you to participate in their lives. They want to live their lives their way. The problem with that is that when they live their lives their way and there becomes destruction, they want you to sift through the rubble and rebuild them. But the problem with that is that, once again, we're controlling what God hasn't assigned for us to control. We've got to allow them to feel some of the pressure of being adults. We've got to allow them to go through their own experiences without it being at your expense. So you've got to recognize that, and I understand why you do it also, because your whole thought process is that if I don't do something, the destruction's only going to be bigger. But that's a choice for them to make. If they implode, then at some point they have to decide they're going to rebuild and not depend on you to rebuild them. They've got to go to the source. But because the relationship with the Lord is lacking, they don't even know that they have a source other than you. They know that God is there when they need Him for comfort, when they need to pray and have some peace. They've got that much. They've got the foundation of it, because you've laid the foundation in. But at some point, they've got to go to Him to be the source. And you don't need to interfere with what God is doing in their lives. Now, having said all of that, you want to know how can you make them understand? Here's how you make them understand. Cut them off. Now, I know that sounds abrupt and harsh. I'm not talking about what you'll build and leave behind for them. I'm talking about cut them off where they are right now. Cut the umbilical cord and let them endure life so that they will then, you can't do it, or you're not going to do it, so I've got to go to God. I've got to go to the Lord. I've got to seek the Lord's face, because that's what will eventually happen. They consider it control, but you're just extending the umbilical cord so that if they need something, you're there for them. that's got to come to an end, because they look at it as controlling them. That's how they look at it. They look at it as controlling them until they get into a difficult situation. Some things we've got to let them go through. Can't control everything. Not even assigned to control everything. God is in full control. There are some things God will assign for us to do. Each and every one of us. But you only control what you're assigned to control. You don't try to control what you're not assigned to control. And that's not really what you're doing. What you're really trying to do is to help them understand. You just want them to have a great quality of life. They're looking at it as you're trying to control your life. And part of the reason is because they've got people in their ear telling them you're trying to control them. They've got relatives, they've got friends, they've got people in their ear telling them, well, they're trying to control your life. It's simply not true. It doesn't make it a fact just because they say it. And you have to let yourself off the hook. That's not a fact. That is an opinion. Are there some things you could do better in a different way? Absolutely. And you'll get there. Because when you recognize that much of what causes disruption in their life is based on choice, not on crisis. You know, sometimes choice will create crisis, but it's a choice first before it ever gets to a crisis. And as long as it's not a matter of life and death, it's really not a crisis. As long as it's not a matter of I'm living today, but if this doesn't get resolved tomorrow, I may not be here. It's really not a crisis. We have to identify the difference. We have to be able to be wise enough. So remember this. You pray that God gives you the strength to change the things that you can change. That you are wise enough to accept the things that you cannot change, and that you have the courage to accept what you cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. And that will allow you to get into a place of peace, and hopefully someday allow them to work out their salvation. Work it out. Because it requires work from all of us. Work it out. And what you should be doing is just building for them for the future, not for the present. Let them live with their choices in the present. And you just build for them in the future so that they won't squander. They'll learn not to squander what you build for the future. Because that's all part of process also. Process of developing our character. The process of developing our integrity. The process of developing who we will eventually become. But just remember this. You can help them understand just by simply saying no and cutting them off. That will be the greatest understanding you'll ever get. Is that I'm not trying to control your life because I'm cutting the umbilical cord. I'm not doing anything else. And that will help you get into a place of peace and help them to grow. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt. Pardon me. Got a little ahead of myself. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will place you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto-pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you have overcome every obstacle to become successful. You have high standards, which has helped you to achieve success. However, you need to hire people who will work with the same standards that you're working. You know, it's very interesting, but first of all, there's something, we talk about this often. There are some people that you can not outwork. You're one of them. You're one of those people who no one's going to outwork you. You're always going to be working to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly become. You're going to be working to maximize your success. You're going to be working to accomplish everything that God has purposed for your life. You are really seeking to, watch this, to be whole in your body, mind, and spirit. That's how you're working every single day. Great thing. Here's a newsflash. Everyone's not going to do that. So what you're going to do is you're not going to hire people who work with the same standards that you work, but you're going to hire people that you believe you can develop to the standards in which you work. Now, what that means is that even though they're never going to outwork you, they will at least put in the effort to work the way you're working. That's the key, because you're one of those people who is just going to work every day to be the best that you can be. Nobody's going to outwork you. That's why you've had the success that you've had, and of course, by being blessed by God. That's why you're having this success. What you want is to identify and hire people who are going to, that you can develop to work to your standards. They may not work as hard as you work every single day, but they're going to be competent, they're going to be effective, they're going to be efficient. So they're not going to live to just work smart, they're going to work hard and they're going to work smart. They're going to work effectively and efficiently. So I've often talked about this. Most people are not going to give 100% of the time. You're one of those people who lives to give 100% of the time, because you understand that that's how you not only become good, but that you become great. You don't just become good at what you do, you become great at what you do. The great ones are identifiable. We know who they are because they're great. You're living at that level. Now what you've got to do is find people that you can develop to work with the same standard. Same standard of excellence. Listen, you want them to, here's what you really want. You want them to work with the attitude, the right attitude, just as you work. You want them to work with the appropriate behavior in a professional environment. Everyone's not going to do that. But you want to develop them to do that. You want them to make the same kind of commitment that you make. You want them to be diligent in all that they do. You want them to work with the spirit of excellence. If you can get them to if you can identify them and hire them and get them to 90%, then you've won the battle. Because I told you, most people are not going to work at 100% of the time. And most people are not going to even give you 90% of the time. Most people aren't going to give you 90%. You'll get some people who are really competent at what they do, who will give you 80%. Every day, they'll show up and they'll do 80%. And let me tell you what that looks like. That's the 80-20 rule. So 20% of the people will do 80% of the work. Think about that. 20% of the people. So if you have 100 employees, 20% of them, right? 20 people who are working for you in your company are going to do 80% of the work. Notice I didn't say 90%. They're going to do 80%. Those 20. And then that means you've got 80 people left over if you had 100. Pardon me. So that means that the numbers from there drop off. You have some who will give 70%, some who will give 60%, pardon me, and some who will give you 50%. They're going to live in mediocrity. They're going to give you just enough that you don't fire them. Meaning they'll show up, may not show up on time, but they'll show up most of the time. They're going to show up more days than they don't. And they're going to live in mediocrity because they're not going to get promoted because they don't stand out. They're part of the herd. What you're looking for is just those people. Just those people. Watch this. That are going to give you, that you can develop to give you 90%. And let me tell you who those people are. It's 2% of them. 2% out of 100. Now you might say, Pastor, that is really sad. It is, because that's 2 people that will give you 90%. Those are the people who you're going to be able to develop to work with the standard that you work. And they will be the people who you will take with you, who you will promote as you see fit. And truth be told, they're part of that 80%, so that leaves you 18 that are going to give you 80%. We've got to think these things through. And the reason I broke it down that way is because it's real important that we think it all the way through. You know, I've told people more than one time over the years, we don't want to live our lives getting from point A to point B. There's a whole alphabet out there. We want to go from A to Z. And we want to get the fullness of God. And so you're going to have to do some things that are really going to maximize the success that you've already accomplished. You've been successful, but now you've got to maximize that success, and you're going to be able to do that by identifying and selecting 2 people that you can develop out of 100. If your numbers are different than 100, the percentages don't change. The numbers never lie. The percentages will not change, and that's how you're going to be able to maximize your success. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. They have shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. I'm in Charles Tyrwhitt attire today. If you are not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And the White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on 5th Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at their retail store. They have everything you could possibly need. They have home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from the White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that all of your friends are getting married and you are not in a relationship. You're not certain what the problem is since you have been open to dating. However, all you do is date. Nothing is lasting. So let me begin by saying this. Your friends are getting married because they prepared themselves to be married. Now, that doesn't imply that their marriages are perfect. That doesn't, because marriage is work. It's not a job. You're working to build a better quality of life. So they're working to build a better quality of life. They have prepared themselves to be wives. Maybe not all of them, but that's neither here nor there, because they too have to grow. If they're not dating the right way and dating according to how society has laid it all out, they're going to go through some challenges and some struggles in their marriage. But nonetheless, they are married. And you're concerned that your relationships aren't lasting. So one of the things the Bible tells us to do is examine ourselves. Are you really ready to be a wife? Now, let me kind of break this down for you. So I've always shared with everyone who would listen, if you want to prepare yourself to be a wife, go to Proverbs 31 in the Bible. It will clear it all up for you. But in addition to that, we have to do some other things. We have to examine our attitude. We have to examine our behavior. We have to examine our level of commitment. We have to examine just how diligent we're willing to be to allow someone else to share the space of our lives. That's first and foremost. Then you have to, really examine, do they have the same spirit of excellence that you have? Are you able to walk together in agreement? Are you able to be equally yoked? So, that has to be determined by what's their faith barometer. Do they have enough faith to carry you and the family? That's going to be real important. And then you have to look at where they are in their level of gratefulness. And that's going to be determined by their relationship with the Lord. Are they truly grateful for life? Are they grateful to get up every day and begin a new day? Are they grateful for every aspect of their lives, both personally and professionally? So that has to be part of the equation. And then, you got to look at, the health issues. You see, I'm walking you through this because when you marry someone, you marry them in part of that is in sickness and in health. So you've got to talk about the health issues. Then you want to know the level of intelligence. Are they an asset or are they a liability? You've got to find out where they are in their knowledge of the Lord, their knowledge of God, their relationship with the Lord. All of that's a factor. But most importantly, you've got to begin to examine yourself first, and most people don't want to do that because at the end of the day, when you're in and out of relationships, there's one common denominator. The common denominator is always us. And that's in every aspect of your life. There's always one common denominator. And it begins with us. So you're going to have to take the time out to examine yourself and determine if you are really prepared to be a wife. And if not, then you're going to have to begin working to that end to accomplish that goal. It takes work. It takes preparation. It takes, when you get married, anyone gets married, they have to work on themselves first. Because then what you're going to do is bring someone else into your life, into your environment, and they're going to bring their own issues to the table. And we need to be prepared for that. We need to be prepared to handle that. So we've got to know exactly who we are before we can come together in holy matrimony with another human being. 3D, today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast is brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Have a great day today. I look forward to being in your viewing environment tomorrow. Remember, we are Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and RadioFreeNetwork.com. Go to RadioFreeNetwork.com. Click on radio. The drop box will appear. Click on New Life, and every broadcast will be available to you.